You come home from school one day, you've just had a test. It's been marked and you got the results back. You've got 18 out of 20 and you stuff the paper in your bag and you rush home to your mum. You rush in the door and your mother says, "Well, how did you get on?" Because she knows you were anxious about it. "I get 18 out of 20, mum." "Oh, let me see the paper." So she looks at the paper and she points to the two questions you got wrong. "How come you didn't get these right?" Well, no parent surely would just do that, would they? Well, they did, and they do. There's no question that's common. But hopefully there's also the affirmation, "Well done, you've got 18 out of 20. Well, hang on a minute. Is it an affirmation? The one thing that might take away from it is that the raw score, you think it's factual, it's evidential, it's objective, but it actually doesn't tell you anything unless you understand the context. Okay, you've got 18 out of 20. How many other people, got 18 out of 20? If most of the class got 19 or even 20 out of 20, then, well, that changes things. Oh, right, so everybody else, or most others, did better than you? That's not so good. The opposite might be, well, nobody else got 18 out of 20, everybody else got 10, 12, 14. Well done. That changes everything. Just the simple raw statistic, the fact, doesn't tell you anything without the context. And that would be true of lots of things in life, isn't it? The context of, it's easy to be critical of people who are slave owners, as we are, and we should be, but within their context, the Colstons or the Dundasses of this world, it was what everybody did. It was the accepted norm for culture. It was the accepted norm in Germany, perhaps, for people to be feeling oppressed by their nation was being burdened with war guilt, and the Nazi Party seemed to be the answer. And the anti-Semitism that went with it, poisonous, toxic, but it was the culture at the time. That doesn't pardon it at any level. Smacking children it's what used to be done. It was common practice. Speaking disrespectfully, we would say now non-PC. The shop in the corner owned by Pakistanis. Everybody knows what that was called. And when you went out for a meal to a Chinese restaurant, terms that today we would think sound racially abusive. So to do with sexual orientation or race or religion or whatever, at the time, does it make it right? Absolutely not. But before we make a judgment about these people and the way they were, we need to get the context and to make sure that we understand our own context, because no doubt today there are things that we should be looking to as well. The other side of that story is not just the context, it's about the criticism. Quite often parents want the best for their children, and they think the best is to be critical when they can find fault, hopefully to improve their performance, but it often can crush them. Sometimes people find that they are so embedded in negative thoughts that they can't think well of themselves, and so they don't perform well, they don't enjoy life, even when they do perform well. It must go back to some kind of evolutionary psychology. The gazelle at the waterhole that doesn't react when there's a movement in the bush is not going to survive long. So no doubt, as we were threatened in our earlier lives, our earlier evolution, then the ones that were alarmed quickly, the ones that reacted to threat, in our case to criticism, would be the ones that survive. So we have a kind of Velcro mind when it comes to negative things. And sadly, some of us have a Teflon mind when it comes to positive things. And there are some people who you cannot give a compliment to because they're so conditioned with this negativity. Or if they only knew, they wouldn't say that. If somebody's very complimentary or trying to affirm, well, they're being kind, they're just being patronising, or they don't really know what they're talking about. You can always disregard, undermine, and make a compliment neutral. It's not a happy place to be. Somebody like that just will not pick up and get on and be positive. So it's important to dwell on and to own the positive things about ourselves, not in a way that's proud or bombastic or egotistical. Just to be able to say, yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm quite pleased with myself. I did well, or I did my best. So that kind of Velcro and Teflon contrast is better addressed so that we can say, yeah, we need to be more living in our positive frame of mind. And all the more so with all the stuff around us, with the negativity and the fear that COVID and the latest transitions and renditions of lockdown are bringing to us. There's a fearfulness about it. And when we feel that, we also feel more negative and more prone to anxiety. So let's think about owning the compliments and the positivities and recognising that there's good in all of us. As Jesus said, love your neighbour as you love yourself. Well, actually, it wasn't Jesus originally. It came from Leviticus. Jesus quoted it. You've heard it before. I'm sure you know the theme, but it's worth focusing on. Let's just recognise our own worth and accept that we might be turning the Velcro side to the positives and see if we can apply a bit of Teflon to all the negativity.